Hello, and welcome to Fast Politics on YouTube. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Tim Miller. He's the host of the Bulwark Daily. We're going to discuss how the Democratic leadership could be more effective. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Molly. I always forget. It's been a while. And for a while, I was like the top guest here. And, then things got busy. And I forget that this show kind of starts with you just being like, what? Hey, there's no, welcome to
W-
Fast Politics. I'm
we
Molly
actually
Jong-Fast.
do a intro where
The
we
host.
plug
I'm
you.
aware. I just
Yeah.
mean my experience. And my
Yes.
experience with the show is just this part.
Yes.
So anyway, how
Well,
you doing?
you're just delightful. And we actually were on a show together last week, and it was very fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're doing our best out here.
Which was 10 years ago. Remember when you did that audit, the Republican audit of, like,
The
what
autopsy, please.
the
Give it
autopsy,
some respect.
right?
The
Autopsy, right.
Growth and Opportunity Project, actually, is what it was called formally.
Do you think that there is, like, is there a Democratic version of that?
I guess the big lesson from the audit, as you called it, was that actually the people don't really care what the DC insiders want, honestly. And
Right,
we've learned that lesson several times now, going back to Barack Obama in 2008 all the way through to Donald Trump presidencies now. I think that there's certain things that the Democrats could reflect on and learn that would be
mm,
applicable no matter who the nominee is. For example, in
tell
the
us.
modern media age, it's probably good to do a lot of media and to be out there and to be less cautious and to be less wound tight, you know?
Wait, what?
I know. Isn't that crazy? A crazy notion. Now, as I say this, I was joking with Ben Dreyfus on X about this. I'm on Blue Sky now, but I was joking with Ben on X about this. And I was like, here's the thing though. I can give all this advice in an audit, and it's
Right,
true on balance, but like the most likely scenario, there's some less likely scenarios that are way worse than this. But the most likely scenario, in my opinion, is that this administration is such a fucking nightmare and such a disaster for so many
right,
people that the Democrats could do anything next time and
right,
learn nothing from this last election
right,
and
right.
the same flaws that they had last time
It
and win
wouldn't matter.
just because people are so sick. And that's like, especially if there's an economic collapse or a recession. That there are ways that it could go differently, but like I think that's probably, if you looked at all the various outcomes, the most likely outcome. So maybe the people by 2028 are so desperate for anything besides Trump that a very cautious, talking pointy Democrat could
Right.
sneak through. But like on balance, just in general, I just think the Republican message machine is just so much better now, and I think that's something the Democrats could learn from. What the new Democrat does from a policy standpoint, it's always funny. Every expert you have is like, "Well, I think the Democrats could win if the candidate did, express
Right.
the views that I have." And it's
Right,
like,
right,
well,
right.
no
Of
shit.
course.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, yeah.
sure. I mean, I would love for it to be some, more moderate Democrat, but I don't know that that's necessarily true. I think there are a lot of different ways to do it ideologically, and I think we learned in 2012 that if just because the DC types want a certain type of ideology, like the voters get to have their say.
I'm glad you brought up priors because that's something I think about all the time, right? What are my priors and how are they informing my decision here? Like that. So I was glad you said that because I do often bristle I get in this with Rick a lot, whenever Trump Republicans are like, yeah, we really shouldn't be paying for eyeglasses, or free breakfast. I'm like, yeah, of course you don't. So I was glad that you talked about that, but I also think it's a negative even for liberals, right? Like I know my priors are like, limousine liberal, right? Just pay more taxes and give poor kids stuff so that I can, make movies about it. And the other thing is that I was glad you talked also about was communication because that is the thing that gets me the most furious with the Democratic establishment.
Yeah, no, for sure. And look, I was on Steph Rule last night, and it was funny because she was playing a clip from Bernie and AOC, and then an op-ed from David French, my,
Right.
the Trump hero. And David French was saying, the Democrats shouldn't do what the Republicans did with the Tea Party and get angry and get out there. And she's like, "What say you, Tim?" And I was like, I mean, on this one, tactically speaking, I got to side with Bernie and AOC on this one. Like,
Right.
it's not my
Right.
dream ticket for 2028, of course, but
Right.
at least they are out there getting attention and making an argument and making a case to people. A lot of people out there Like, I think about all the discussion about the Democratic Rogan and the Bro podcast world, and some of this discussion is silly, but there's one element of it that's true. There are a lot of dudes out there, I know some of them, and women, frankly, but mostly dudes, that like listen to some of these podcasts that don't really follow the news, right?
Right.
And aren't particularly ideological. Like,
Right.
probably would like a lot of the things that Bernie and AOC have to say. Probably would like a lot of things that a moderate like Josh Shapiro would have to say, honestly, right? Like they're not ideological. And the only thing that they were hearing was from Trump. All they were hearing was from Trump because he's everywhere. And all they were hearing about Democrats was negative shit that Trump and his people say. And so you ask, well, why are young men more conservative now than old men? And it's like, well, that's why. Just at minimum, like at least Bernie and AOC break through. And some of those young men will be turned off by what Bernie and AOC say and aren't going to be
Right.
gettable. That's fine. But some of them will be like, oh, wait, like they're actually making more sensible points, you know? And
Yeah.
then that you start to claw some people back. So, I just think that element of it is a no-brainer. But it's easier said than done, you know?
That's something we saw a lot, right? Trump won by just going places and talking.
Yes, and he brought in new people. And again, I had Wes Moore on the pod yesterday or earlier this week, and I was asking him about the young black men. If you look at the David Shore analysis, he's his Democratic
Yeah.
pollster. This could be off. Right? Like we don't know. We don't know how every 18-year-old black young man voted, but like based on his analysis, they voted for Trump. Like Trump won very narrowly, even if
Right.
that's wrong. And Kamala won 60-40. That's still like a huge move from how it used to be. And I was asking Governor Moore why, and he's like, look, a lot of these guys are pissed at the system, and
Right.
they don't have a lot of they don't know a lot of specifics. They have certain policies they really believe in, but like, they don't know a lot of the details. And they thought Trump was also pissed at the system. He was trying to talk to them, and it might have been in a
Right.
very hackish way, like with the sneakers and stuff, but at least he was
He was
trying.
trying.
And right, and I think that like is a big part of this. Like, how do you at least demonstrate that you're listening, that you care, that you want their support, that you know what I mean? And there are certain groups that the Democrats are very good at demonstrating that, and then I felt like there are other groups that they didn't. And Trump, like, say what you want about him, he's like, if you like Trump, that's good for me. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
a
Right. All
lot of
right.
negative things about Trump, but for Trump, it's
Right.
just like he's at least like, look, if you want to listen, I'll at least try.
Yeah.
He turns off certain. Obviously, he didn't try very hard with college-educated women,
No.
for example. But
But
that's why he did the worst with college-educated women. And you know what? By the way, he did at least kind of try because he lied about his abortion position to try to win them over, right? So that was at least
right.
kind of trying. It wasn't trying authentically, but it was at least doing politics.
Well, and one of my theories is that he actually tried with some college educated women by reaching out to RFK Jr. That the
Uh-huh.
Maha
Yeah.
movement was actually his female outreach.
Right, and maybe safety too, a little bit, public safety stuff.
Right.
Crimes
But
going after criminals.
there are college educated women who love RFK
Yeah.
Jr. bafflingly because of raw milk and seed oils.
Yeah, talk about bringing in somebody who like this is the demo that I'm least suited to talk about.
Yeah, me too. Well, I'm the
Like
least.
like what I don't get it. I don't know. I go to yoga, I guess. So I sometimes I'm looking around at yoga being like, which one of you are Maha? You know? But I don't really understand it. But you're right. Yeah. I mean
I mean,
that was an outreach.
I
To some
think Maha ran downstream of COVID breaking brains.
yeah. One boy, there's a lot of that out there.
As you're looking at this kind of moment, say you were an ambitious United States senator and a Democrat, what would the play be if you want like here's a moment where clearly the leadership is under threat by the base.
Yeah.
What would you do if you were a Chris Murphy or a
Thank you for asking this question because I hope and I understand that probably some Democratic elected officials listen to this podcast from time to time. Or
right,
if not, maybe we could clip
right.
this. And
No, they do. They listen to it and get mad at it.
yeah,
Yes.
great. Okay, here it
Yeah.
is. You have to be mad about something. I don't know there's so much to be mad about. I actually don't care what it is. Don't listen to your strategists who say you have to be mad about the thing that really pulls the highest right now. It's
Right. Right.
got to be kitchen table issues.
Right.
There's no election. There's unless you're Abigail Spanberger or whoever wins the New Jersey race, Mikey Sherrill or whoever. Unless you're one of them, you don't have an election for 19 months.
Right.
So listen to your strategists next Labor Day. In the
Right.
meantime, give people passion. Like for me, I have smoke blowing out of my ears about about the fact that we are sending people that were fleeing communism, who were here legally under temporary protective services. We are sending them to an El Salvadoran death camp because they had tattoos that looked similar to gang tattoos. It is un-American. It drives me fucking insane. I don't understand. I think people should be outside of DHS with bullhorns. And by the way, if there is somebody's organizing one of those things, you call me. I'll be there. Like, I am enraged about this.
Yeah.
Stop it. F you, Marco Rubio. F you, Tom Homans. F you,
Yeah.
Stephen. So, okay, that's me.
Yeah.
I, that might not be the thing Mark Kelly's mad about. That might not be the thing that, whoever. You name
But it's
Democratic
very
senator.
anti-American to be
Anti-American.
sending
Right.
people to a prison in Venezuela.
Or John Ossoff or Raphael Warnock, whatever. It might not be what any of those who are mad about. Pick the thing you're mad about and be really mad about it. Be really passionate about it. Be out there on social media, go on television interviews, call out the Trump administration, lead. Try to look at Bernie. What does Bernie care about? He's the same thing for 10 years. The millionaires and billionaires are coming after us. So he's got a perfect foil right now in Elon Musk. He can be out there, and so can AOC, yelling about this and ramming about this. Great. Find that thing for you, whatever it is, and then go out and pressure this administration and demonstrate to the voters that you have blood running through your veins. To me, it's like 85% of the people on Capitol Hill. I wonder if they're automatons. Like,
Right.
are you at the Hall of Presidents at Disney World? Like, show me that you bleed. Show me that you cry. Like, I want to see something. Like, God,
Right.
like I just want to feel something. So that's my advice to them.
Do you
Don't worry about the politics. Draw attention to something.
do you think a coup d'etat, anti-Chuck Schumer coup d'etat would A, work, B, help the cause, and
Yeah.
C, that there are enough people to do it?
Yes, I believe it would help the cause on balance.
Right.
It's not going to save the country.
No.
But it just would be. Look, Chuck should just do what Nancy did. He doesn't have to
Right.
retire. Just step aside, let somebody else be the point person. He doesn't understand the enemy. When
Right.
he's sitting there talking about, oh, I'm in the gym with them, and we're I guess he said in that New York Times interview, and when we're on the
Right.
bike, you can tell they're reasonable. It's like, no, Chuck,
Yeah.
they're snowing you. You're getting snowed.
Mhm.
So could it happen? I don't know. I got to tell you, Molly, I went and looked at like the list of Democratic senators just with this in mind, and I started going down the list, and I was like, boy, finding 24 that are going to overthrow him is a little hard. And then
Right.
finding the right person to do it is a little hard. Like, who is it? Is it Amy Klobuchar? Is it Schatz? People say Murphy. Murphy's just so junior. I don't know. But you can't beat somebody with nobody.
Right.
And so I don't think it's a 0% chance, but I don't know. It's gonna be tough.
One of the things that got me so furious in this cycle was when we saw with the ranking member on oversight where they moved Jerry Connolly in and they wouldn't elevate AOC.
Go
Right.
to
Okay. And so I talked to a member about that, and he was like, "Well, you don't understand. Jerry Connolly did a lot of stuff for me."
okay. Yeah, I know. And that's what all this stuff is. And there are a lot of like senators been there for a while. There hasn't been the turnover on the Democratic side. There's been on the Republican side, and a lot of people are cautious. Democrats by nature are a little more cautious. Which serves them well in a lot of cases, right?
But
Like,
not
it's hard.
now.
Yeah, not now. It's hard to imagine the Democrats like having 16 rounds of votes to overthrow their leader like the Republicans did, because they're just like there aren't. You need 10 Matt Gaetzes. You need 10 people who just like don't give a fuck. And it's like
Mhm.
it's hard to think of one person who DGA
Right.
in the Democratic caucus, right? Like, so I think that and again, that's good sometimes, when you don't want totally irresponsible governance, right?
Right.
That's what makes it hard. The AOC thing, I kind of feel like maybe they pitched it the wrong way. Maybe they could have got more people through if in private they're like, let's channel AOC's energy for good. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah, you don't want her causing trouble for you over here on all this other stuff. If you just put her on oversight, then we're like aiming her like a seeking missile at the administration, and that's a good use of her like skills. And to
Is
me,
it
that was the best pitch for it.
is that a failure of leadership though that didn't have that
The case, yeah, I think so. And Hakeem, I just think again, I don't have anything against Hakeem, but
right.
like the killer instinct, you know what I mean? Like,
The caution. The problem is, and that's something we saw with Harris, who I feel that I was a big fan of, but there was this cautiousness, which which is we know how she got there, right? They are
yeah,
terrible to her,
yes.
but that cautiousness ultimately is self-defeating.
Yeah, and there was this guy, I don't know if this is true, so I'm just gonna say this is what this comedian guy said. His name's Andrew Schultz. He's been doing the pod tours lately. You've probably seen him. He's got a
Okay.
little mustache. He's been doing the circuit. And he's got one of these podcasts, and he was like, I almost had Tim Walz on, but after the controversy about Tim Walz's service or whatever, where they like some of the Republicans were trying to say that he did stolen valor or whatever, it was like 90% bullshit. He
Right.
slightly used some exaggerations and a few things, but like nothing like Bone Spurs president. Anyway, the Schultz guy said after that they backed out and said he wasn't going to do it. Is that true? I don't know. But if it is true, again, it's just a sign of caution. And even if it's not true, you can tell they were cautious with him because he wasn't out there in a lot of those
Right.
scenes. So like, look at the Supreme Court situation. Could you imagine Chuck Schumer going to the mat on a Merrick Garland type situation the way
No,
Mitch McConnell did?
no.
I'm gonna hold up a nominee for 7 months and just take heat and just say pound sand, and, like, I don't care at all. You guys might as well not even try because 'cause I'm not gonna do it. It's just impossible to imagine him doing it,
Right.
right? And, like,
Right.
again, that's on some level good, and, like, hopefully in 2035, we can get back to a healthy place where
Right.
is that is the way politics is played, but, like, that's not where we're at in 2025.
Right. Right. No, and I think that's totally right. And I think, look, and I saw this firsthand. I mean, Tim, they've shut him down. Like he did so well with that weird, they're weird, and they just shut him down. And I went to the Harris headquarters, and it was like being in a black site. Wouldn't let you go anywhere. You couldn't talk to anyone. The building was unmarked.
Yeah.
It was like I was like, "What's go," they were
Like,
like,
what?
"You get 7 minutes with our director of shopping on the internet." You know,
You
I was like, "Why is this?" Meanwhile, you go to Trump World and, you got the big guy going
a
on
carnival.
everything.
Who
Yeah,
knows? Yeah, I know.
yeah,
And again, part of this is just some bad old habits from the old days of political strategy, and by the way, there's still certain cases where this makes sense, right? Like, if you are running for Senate in she did. How about use this? If you're running for
right,
Senate in California, right? People don't like California's a massive state.
right,
Don't pay that close of attention to their Senate races, like they
right,
kind of do, but it's a Democratic state. The
right,
best thing to do if you're Kamala, be cautious, run great ads,
right,
don't do anything that's gonna make anybody mad, and, like, you're probably gonna win, right?
right,
So, like, there is times when that strategy works, it's just not in a race against Donald Trump, you know?
right, and
Like, that's the thing.
yeah. It doesn't seem like JD Vance is the heir apparent to MAGA.
It's a good question. He fakes it pretty good. Uh,
Right.
and
I
I
mean,
think
he
there's
is
more th
MAGA.
yeah, I mean, all the stuff that we hate the most is what they like, right? Like, the Zelensky
Right,
meeting, the way, like, weirdly he does
right,
misogynist dunks on women on random people
right,
on Twitter, and, like, obviously, it will be a challenge. God, that's a great problem to have if that's where we get there
right.
to deal with that, but unfortunately, he's doing better than I expected on as far as
Yeah,
that's concerned, but boy, rocky road ahead
yeah.
for all of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Molly. We'll see you soon.